Match 45 of the Big Bash, and it's the Melbourne Derby once again. The Renegades against the Stars. Let's build our fantasy team on my 11 Circle Fantasy Pick on ESPNcricinfo. I'm Ronak Kapoor, and Michael Hussey is all set to join me. Right, let's go to our pro tip. And the likes of Shaun, Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Adam Zampa, Kane Richardson all have performed exceptionally well at the Dockland Stadium in the past. So make sure you include them in your team. And I think Shaun Marsh is one of the few Renegades players you can actually go just back into this team. Otherwise, that's hard work, Huss, to pick Renegades players in these fantasy sides.
Yeah, they've really have had a wretched season, mate. It's been tough going for the Renegades. Shaun Marsh has been pretty consistent. I guess the big disappointment has been Aaron Finch. You know, he just has not been able to get going at all, but I would not write him off. He's a class player and he might just throw caution to the wind, and if he gets going, he'd be hard to stop.
Right, I'm very curious to see if we find room for Aaron Finch, who slowly found his way out of our top options and our preferred 11s. Right, as far as player availability goes, these two sides met recently, and since then there's no updated news on any players not being available, but do check in closer to the toss for the latest team news. Going to our team, before that, a quick reminder on the My 11 Circle Fantasy app, 100 credits for every user to build their fantasy team, 4 categories of players to choose from: batsmen, bowlers, wicket keepers, and all-rounders. You can pick a maximum of 7 players from one team in any given contest, and we'll throw in 4 substitute options for you towards the end of this video as well. Our captain choice, curiously, is not a Stars player. It is Shaun Marsh. Like Mike Hussey points out, he's been in pretty good nick in spite of missing a couple of games this season. He is comfortably the leading run scorer for the Melbourne Renegades in this year's Big Bash. And against the Melbourne Stars, he scored 376 runs in 8 games at a pretty good nick of 53.71, including 450 plus scores. His numbers at the Dockland Stadium are even better, averages over 71, and therefore is our captain choice for this game. Glenn Maxwell is vice captain, the Melbourne Stars skipper. He's been in pretty sensational hitting form from the start of this season, accumulated 312 runs in 10 innings, striking at over 145, and the last time he played at this venue, scored that match-winning 83 not out of 45 balls against this opposition, which included 7 sixes. So Marsh as captain, Maxwell as vice captain. Our top pick sees Marcus Stoinis. As always, when the Melbourne Stars play, you can never keep Stoinis too far with the sort of sensational form he's been in since last year's Big Bash, and he can get you some extra points with the ball now that he's bowling again. Adam Zampa's there as well, lead spinner for Australia and white ball cricket, lead spinner for the Melbourne Stars, and 20 wickets in 12 games since last season, and 18 wickets in 9 games this season. So he's just carried on from last year's Adam Zampa. Kane Richardson from the Renegades, the leading wicket taker for them this season. Again, he's also the leading wicket taker at Dockland Stadium, 21 scalps in 15 games. Shaun Marsh is captain, Glenn Maxwell is vice captain, Stoinis, Zampa, and Kane Richardson wrap up our top picks. Now, what do you make of that, Us? In particular, us recommending Shaun Marsh as captain over a Melbourne Stars player.
Yeah, I can't really argue with any of those picks, to be honest. I would consider perhaps other captains. I think Glenn Maxwell, because he can offer with the bat and the ball, he's so dynamic, is probably a good pick as captain as well. But I wouldn't discount Marcus Stoinis either. You know, we know what he can do with the bat, but he's just back bowling, as you mentioned. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts building that bowling up over the next couple of games. So I certainly wouldn't discount him either. Shaun Marsh, obviously, you're just relying on him just with the bat to get you some big runs. So a bit to weigh up there. I'd probably be more tempted to go for one of the all-rounders as my captain.
All right, there you have it. One of the all-rounders. Keep them in your considerations. Let's go to some differential picks. Andre Fletcher features. I think it's hard to ignore Andre Fletcher after he suddenly showed some form in that thumping 89 not out of 49 against the Adelaide Strikers. He had a pretty torrid start to the season, but it looks like a different Andre Fletcher now. Expect him to come good again on what we think is a good batting surface. Aaron Finch is there, even though he's had a disappointing season, like Mike Hussey points out. We don't want to keep the Melbourne Renegades skipper out just yet. He is Australia's white ball captain. You know, he's a big player, and you know he could still get you big points on the days that he does tee off. The leading run scorer at the Dockland Stadium in Big Bash history is Aaron Finch, 1,108 runs in 29 games at an average of over 44. So Andre Fletcher and Aaron Finch in our differential picks. Our full team sees Sam Harper as a keeper option from the Renegades. There's Shaun Marsh as our recommended captain, Andre Fletcher, Nick Mattinson, Aaron Finch, Glenn Maxwell, and Marcus Stoinis Maxwell is our recommended vice-captain. Huss is keen you try one of those all-rounders in those captain, vice-captain slots. Adam Zampa, Kane Richardson, Zahir Khan and Peter Hadzoglou wrap up our side. Our substitutes bench features the likes of Imad Wasim, Bo Webster, Hilton Cartwright and Liam Hatcher. Some alternate scenarios, Cartwright and Mattinson. Would you want to make a swap there? There's also the chance that Liam Hatcher could come into your side in place of Zahir Khan. I wonder if Huss is in the least bit tempted on any of those swaps. Any other thoughts you'd like to leave our viewers with us?
Well, yeah, it's a tough one. I would be tempted to go for Liam Hatcher, actually, and also Hilton Cartwright. He's looked in really good touch in the last few matches, hit some big bombs at the end of the innings. So I'd be tempted to bring him in. And Hatcher's just a proven wicket taker. He's really burst onto the scene and consistently has picked up wickets for the Stars. He'll definitely play because Harris Ralph has left the team. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so Mike Hussey likes those alternate scenarios. Try and find room for both Hilton Cartwright and Liam Hatcher in your side. Big thank you to Mike Hussey. More from him as the Big Bash continues to roll on. This was my 11 Circle Fantasy Pick on ESPNcricinfo.